Hey everyone, Cedric from Vertex Marketing Agency. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can send events to the Facebook Conversion API. Now, I've actually made a video on that subject probably about a year ago, but with time, things change. So I wanted to make an updated version of the Facebook Conversion API video. So just to give you an agenda of this video, well, we're going to start by talking about what is the Facebook Conversion API. So I'm going to explain to you exactly what that is and the difference between browser and server-side tracking. And then from there, I'm just going to go inside my GTM account. I'm going to show you how to set it up. By the way, GTM stands for Google Tag Manager. And I'm also going to give you the template and everything that I've used in this video so that you can apply it on your setup. And by the end of this video, you should have a functioning browser and server-side setup. So really excited to be sharing this content with you because I've actually learned a lot of new things that I just wasn't aware of last year when I made that video on the subject of CAPI. So really excited to share all this content with you guys today. So now let's cover the difference between browser tracking and server-side tracking. And when I say server-side tracking, really it means the Facebook Conversion API. But the Conversion API is an endpoint that accepts information from a server. So that's why a lot of people just say server-side tracking. But let's start with browser tracking. So that's a traditional way of tracking users, and it usually consists of installing a piece of JavaScript code on your website, like the Facebook pixel. And what that does is it actually sets cookies on the user's browser, and then Facebook use that information to be able to maybe match that event with the Facebook profile and identify really who that user is. Now, the main issue with that is you have things like ad blockers, Safari, that are actually blocking those pieces of JavaScript code, and sometimes even changing the lifespan of these cookies. So it's a huge issue for advertisers, and it's been like that since iOS 14. So platforms like Facebook actually created something called the Facebook Conversion API, which is basically like a door that accepts information from your server. So the solution is to actually collect the information about your users yourself. You send it to your own server, and when you send it to your own server, usually it's like on a subdomain, and I'll show you how to create all that. But once it's stored on your server, well, you own that data, right? So you can do whatever you want with it. You can send it to Facebook, you can send it to a Google Sheet, you can send it to wherever you want because you own that data. And you're not being blocked by Safari or by Apple because your website needs to be able to collect data about your users. Because, for example, let's say you were trying to identify fraud on your website. Like, you need to be able to collect things like the IP, maybe the cookie, or maybe even the first name, last name, if ever you want to contact the user. So collecting the information about your users is totally normal. So then what you can do is you can send that to the server. And like I said, from there, you can send it to Facebook Conversion API, you can send it to the TikTok Conversion API, or you can send it, let's say, Google Analytics 4. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to cover the Facebook Conversion API, also just regular browser tracking because they actually work together. And then I'm also going to show you how to send data to Google Analytics 4 via server-side. Okay, so I am now inside my GTM web container. By the way, if you're not familiar with Google Tag Manager, no worries, but in order to be able to fully do everything that I do in this video, you need some basic understanding of what is a tag, what is a variable, and what is a trigger. If you have no clue what those are, that's fine. I've actually made a bunch of other videos on this channel showing you how the platform works. I'll recommend that you go ahead and check those out, and then you can come back to this video. But for the rest of you that know how Google Tag Manager works, well, perfect. So here's what I have. I have all my tags, my triggers, and my variables. And with this setup right there, I'm actually gonna be able to send events from both the browser and the server. So like I said, what I've done is I've created a template that you can just go ahead and download. So if you go in the description of this video, you're gonna have this landing page. Now, when you view it, there's gonna be a video here. I just haven't done recording a video here, but it's gonna be the video that you see here. That's going to be also embedded there just in case, I don't know, you lose the video on YouTube. And then all you have to do is put in your first name, last name, and email, and then you're going to be able to download the template. And then it's going to be my exact setup here. So you don't need to recreate everything, but it's also going to come with things like called event ID. And for example, the Facebook cookie and the Facebook click ID already configured for you. So it's going to save you a lot of time. The other thing that you're going to get with this is, as you can see, we've actually partnered with a company called Stape. So when it comes down to creating our server container, this will actually come with a membership from Stape. So you're gonna be able to create your server-side container. and start sending events using a Stape server. And I'll talk a bit more about the difference between a Google server and a Stape server a little bit later in this video. But if you want to use a Google server, it's still going to work. I'm going to show you how you would go about creating a Google server, but I strongly recommend Stape, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. But go ahead and fill up this form, and then as soon as I click on get access, you should receive 2 emails. So you're gonna receive one email with a template, and then you're gonna see the other email with the Stape invitation. So I'm just gonna go to my email and then refresh my email. I'm just gonna bring this here. So we have the email with the template, we have the email with Stape. Let's just go ahead and open Stape, and we just need to create our password. So I'm just gonna give it a password, and then we're gonna save the password. Great, so I'm inside my account. You actually don't need to do anything here yet. Just keep this tab open. We're gonna go back to my email, and then I'm gonna open up this template here. Now, I've shared a lot of templates with you guys, and I always make sure that they work, but so I often get a lot of people commenting saying they don't work, and the issue when you say that it doesn't work is because you click on the template and then it's actually gonna open up a file like this. So this is the process. You're supposed to see something like this, okay? The link is not broken. What you have to do on your end after that is just save it. So I'm gonna click save as, and you wanna make sure that it's saved as a JSON file. If not, it's not gonna work. So again, you right click on the page and then you click save as. It's possible that you don't see me saving it on my computer just because of the way I'm sharing my screen, but you're gonna click save as, and then you should see your file manager popping up. Again, I'm sharing my browser and not my full computer, so you might not see that, but then the file type is gonna be a .json file. So then you save it. Once you save, you can see that I saved it right here. If ever it's a .txt or I don't know, .html, the issue again is not with the template, is with the way your computer is saving the file. So you wanna make sure it's a .json, okay? So now that you have the template, you can go back inside Google Tag Manager, go to admin, and then here you're gonna see import container. You're gonna choose the file that you just downloaded, an existing workspace, and then I recommend that you select merge and not overwrite, okay? So select merge, and then once you do that, and once you've uploaded the file, you're gonna see a save button somewhere on your screen. So just go ahead and save it, and you're gonna have access to all these tags, triggers, and variables. Now I'm gonna show you how they all work and how you can tweak it to make it work for your website. So we're first gonna start in the variable section. So I'm gonna click on variables, and then what you see here are actually all the different variables that you get when you imported my template. Now, the one that I'm asking you that you just update for now is the Facebook pixel. So every time it says update after import, that means you're gonna need to change in order to make it work for your website. Again, I'm gonna talk a bit more about the other ones in just a few minutes, but for now, just go here and add your Facebook pixel. So go inside Events Manager, grab your Facebook pixel, add that here, and then just save it. And in case you're not sure what a constant is a static value. So inside our tags, instead of having to always going back and forth and say, shoot, what's my Facebook pixel? It's gonna be a variable, it's gonna dynamically pull that static value. So make sure to do that. And then once you have that, you're gonna go to the tags. Now, I'm first gonna talk about the FB all page tag. And in case you've never seen something like this, basically this is a Facebook template. So it's a template that Facebook created in order to allow us to send data via the browser. So you're gonna get that with that template. And if I just open this to edit it, this is where you're gonna see that Facebook pixel that I just asked you to update. And if I scroll down, this is where you get to select the event name. So in this example, we're gonna be sending a page view event. And then if I open this up, you might not be able to see that on your screen, but I get the option list of all the different events that I can send. So I can send a purchase event, I can send submit application event, and the list goes on. Those are just all the standard events. So I'm gonna go back to page view, and I'm gonna keep scrolling down, and I wanna show you this right here, the option that says more settings. So if I click to open this, you're gonna see there's gonna be a variable called unique event ID. Now, this is actually something that you're gonna get with a template, and it's really important that this is in all your Facebook and GA4 tag, and let me explain why. So Facebook actually likes to receive events via both the browser and the server, okay? They like the browser because that's just their own Facebook pixel, and they collect they decide what kind of information they wanna collect about the user. But as I mentioned, sometimes Facebook just won't receive the events via the browser because of ad blocker or maybe because of Safari. So this is why we're also going to be sending events via the server. But when Facebook receives an event from both the browser and the server from the same user, let's say it's a purchase event, well, Facebook needs a way to know that this is actually the same user sending that same event. So we use something called an event ID. And once Facebook, let's say, receive a purchase event from both browser and server with the event ID 123, they're gonna know to deduplicate the event and only keep one. And if you don't have that inside all of your tags, then you're gonna see a lot of duplicated data and you're gonna think that your marketing campaigns are doing really, really good when the truth is that you're just duplicating your data. So make sure that it's inside all your tags. So if you look at all the different tags that are there, you're gonna see that some of them are a little bit more tailored for e-com companies. And then here we have the Facebook lead event that is more for service-based companies. So you can actually go ahead and change those tags to make it work for your company. So let me open up the FB purchase here. Let me just walk you through some of the other features of this tag. So again, opening this up here, and this is a purchase because I changed the event name and now it's set to purchase. And if I scroll down here, you're gonna see enable advanced matching. So let's say it's turned off, you're gonna see something disappears. And when I turn it back on, it's right here. So it's customer information data parameters. So this gives you the option to send user information like first name, last name, email, phone number, city, country, zip, back to Facebook. And in case you're wondering, like, why would I want to do that? Well, think about it this way. So the more data that you send to Facebook, the more likely Facebook is going to be able to match that event, in this example, or purchase, with an actual Facebook profile. So when you're sending an event to Facebook with, let's say, the email attached to it, Facebook can now go in their database and say, does that email match any of my users' email? So it's pretty easy to see how the more data you send, just the better your Facebook's gonna be able to deliver ads, the more conversion they're being able to associate with your campaigns, and you're just gonna see more success with the platform. So this is why I always recommend companies to send as much information as possible to Facebook and send the information in the two main ways, which are browser and server. Now, in the event where you don't have that set up, because as you can see here, it says update after import. So if you use this, it's not gonna work because you need to tweak it and make it work for your website. So in the event where you don't know how to do that with custom JavaScript or with a data layer, I've actually made another video showing you exactly how to do this. But now, guys, this is an optional step. You do not need to do that. I recommend it because you're gonna see better success if you do that, but you do not need to do that. So if ever you don't have that information available and you just, you don't really wanna set that up, you can just hit minus, 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 and then remove that. So this actually, the same thing goes for lead, the same thing goes with all your other events. If you don't want to send that information, you don't need to, but it's an option. So now if we click on object properties, you're gonna see we have two values. We have the currency and then we also have value. Now currency is a static and it's just USD. That's usually what I do for the currency. But now this, again, it says update after import. So if you use this variable, it's not gonna work for you. You need to change it. But when you're setting an event like purchase, you should always have the currency and the value. So that's really a must. So in the event that you can't set a value just because you don't know how to do a JavaScript or a data layer, you can potentially put a static value. So for example, I can put the number 10 and then just know that inside Ads Manager, when you look at your return on ad spend, it's not going to pull in the real value because you just put, the number 10, unless you only sell, let's say, one product on your website. But just keep that in mind. But you can add objects here. And if you're wondering what else you can add a few other things. I'm just going to reference you to the Facebook documentation, but there's a few other things that you can send. But most of the time for purchase, we're talking about the currency and the value. That's what people usually send. So I'm gonna save that. Now I'm actually gonna cover all the GA4 tags because those are really the ones that you need to pay attention to because those are responsible for the server side tracking. So I'm gonna open up now the GA4 basics. So opening this up. Now here you're gonna wanna put in your measurement ID. So if you go inside Google Analytics 4, it's gonna be under your data stream. You can just put in your measurement ID, okay? Once you've done that, do not select this for now. So send it to server container. We're gonna cover that a little bit later in this video. But I want to first talk about GA4, how we're using GA4, why are we using GA4, and how does that have to relate with Facebook. So we actually use GA4 to send data to the Facebook Conversion API. So the way that I want you to think about our GA4 tags inside the web container is more like a transportation bus, okay? So this tag actually right here, when we're done with it, it's actually not gonna send any data to GA4. The data to GA4 is going to be sent on the server container, and you're going to see how it connects later in this video. But this is more of just, again, like a train or a transportation bus. So we're using that to send the data to our server. So if you actually see right here, there's an option that you can check and it says send to server container. We're going to add a server container here. I'm going to show you how to create it, how to also tweak it so it's your own custom subdomain, and then it's going to be so then we're going to do server-side tracking in a first-party context. But this, again, acts more as a transportation vehicle to send the data to our server container. So think about more this way. It's more like this tag is sponsored by GA4, but it does not send any data to GA4, okay? So just keep that in mind. I'm just gonna unselect this for now. So this here is really important. So here we have the event ID. So you already remember what happens if you don't send an event ID with your events, like Facebook is not gonna be able to duplicate those events. First party collection, you're just always gonna set that to true. Again, those fields are already all gonna be there for you when you import the template. Now this here is the Facebook cookie, and this is the Facebook click ID. So basically when someone lands on your website, the Facebook pixel will go ahead and generate a cookie, right? We've already talked about browser tracking and how Facebook does the attribution. Well, you can actually send those cookies to the server container. And then from there, you can have that server container send it to the Facebook Conversion API, which again will help with the Facebook attribution. And then you also get a click ID. So that's when a user clicks on one of your Facebook ad. If that's true, then Facebook is gonna generate another cookie that is specific to that click, so that inside Facebook, they can do like attribution specifically to an ad or campaign or an ad set, okay? But those again are already there. You don't need to do anything. As you can see, it doesn't say update after import, so you do not need to touch them. They will work for your container. So if we keep scrolling down here, this is again setting up on all pages. One thing that you need to know though is that let's say your Facebook all page view has a different trigger than all page, right? Because you decided to change it. It's really important that you change your GA4 trigger as well. So whatever you do on the browser side of things, that's with the Facebook template, that trigger always needs to match the same trigger for the GA4 tag, right? So if I actually get out of here, you're gonna see that I have, let's say, the FB purchase, that's a purchase tag, and then I also have the GA4 purchase. So this one right here is going to be sending data to the browser. This one right here is going to be sending data via the server, okay? But look at the trigger, it's the same trigger, and that's really important because if you use a different trigger, then those events are going to potentially be showing up inside Facebook at different times, and they'll have different event ID. So really important, always the same trigger. And then the other thing is that Facebook actually made some sort of like, I think, agreement or partnership with GA4 where they had a discussion and they say, hey, so you name a purchase, for example, for GA4, it's actually purchase with not a capital P, but then for Facebook, it's purchase with a capital P. For example, for lead, for Facebook, it's just like lead. And then for GA4, it's actually generate _ lead. So I'm gonna put this image right now on the screen. And I recommend that you take a screenshot, and this is just gonna show you all the Facebook event names and then how they convert to GA4. So for example, let's say you also wanna send a lead event to GA4. I'm just gonna open up this tag. All you have to do is go under the event name, and then you can change this to January _ lead and then save this. Okay, I'm just gonna discard that. But you wanna make sure that the event name that I just show you on the screen again right now matches the event name for GA4 for that specific event type, okay? So just make sure that's the case, because if it doesn't match, then it's gonna be seen as a different event once it gets received inside Events Manager, and then your tracking is gonna be off, okay? So that's just another thing that you need to remember. So At this point, you should have an understanding of how the web container works. So what are all the tags that are responsible for browser tracking, the ones that are responsible for server tracking, which are the GA4 tags, and how they kind of connect and work together. Now what we can do is we can create the server container. I'm going to show you how to create your server. I'm going to show you how to change that server to your own custom subdomain. And then I'm also going to show you some other pretty cool stuff after we've done all that to help with tracking. So I'm going to show you how to proxy GTM. So now let's get into the next steps of creating your server container. I'm going to click on admin. And then once I'm here, I'm going to hit the plus right here to create a new container. And then I'm just going to name this SS. Let's do demo 5. And then I'm going to name my server. Obviously, you're going to name it whatever you want to name it. You don't need to name it demo. And I'm going to create that server. Now, once we're here, you're gonna see two options. You're actually gonna click the option below right here because we're gonna be using a Stape server. And the reason we're gonna be using a Stape server is that it's actually a lot cheaper than a Google Cloud server. So just to give you an idea, so if I go to Stape, so right now I'm again on the Stape page, if I click on, you're gonna click on create container right here, then you're gonna give it a name. I'm gonna test demo 5. And then you're gonna need to paste your configuration ID. So if I go here, this is my configuration ID. You're gonna need to get yours. You need to copy it and then bring it over right here. And then you can choose your server location. So I recommend that you choose the server location that is the closest to where you live or where your users are. So I'm just gonna choose this one for now. And then I'm gonna click on create server. So just to show you the difference between using a plan with Stape versus a Google Cloud. So Google Cloud, it's a lot more expensive. Just to show you, so here's a screenshot of one of my clients for a 30-day period of how much they actually spending on Google Cloud. And this is not a really, really big website. Like here, I can show you a screenshot of how many page views they're getting. So Google Cloud, it's great, it's Google, but it's a lot more expensive. And you can actually get the same service, which is a server with a company like Stape for a lot cheaper. Another cool thing with Stape is that you can actually get started for free. You get up to 10,000 requests, but most likely if you're watching this video and you're getting into server-side tracking, you're gonna bust over the 10,000 requests because one request is basically one action. So if a user goes on your website, they visit one page, they click an, an add to cart button, like that right there, that's 2 requests, right? So you can see how you can go through the 10,000 pretty fast. So probably the majority of you are going to be on the Pro plan or on the Pro Plus plan. So I would honestly just say go with the Pro plan because with the free plan, you're going to bust over the 10,000 unless you're just testing it and you want to see how it works. And sure, you can stay with the free, but most likely, most of you are going to need to go with the Pro plan. In the event where you go with the Pro plan, then what you can do is, so I'm just going to click on change plan to Pro. You should see a Stripe checkout right here, and you can actually go here and add the promo code Vertex. Okay, so just like that, our company name, and you hit apply. What that's going to do is, because like I said, we've partnered up with Stripe, and it's going to give you 10% off lifetime. So it's a pretty good deal, especially that if you grow with Stape and you get to a higher paid plan, like getting 10% forever is it's a pretty good discount. So go ahead and if you're gonna get a paid plan, might as well add that discount code right here. Since this is a demo, I'm just gonna stick with the free plan. Oh, so it already created my container for me. So if I go here now, if I scroll all the way down, you can see this is my tagging server. So I could actually use this, click that to copy that, and then go inside GTM right here under admin, and then click container settings, add URL, paste that right here, then save it. And then actually, I can actually start doing server-side tracking because Stape just gave me a server. Now, I'm gonna recommend that you actually don't do this. What you're gonna do instead is you're gonna click on add a domain, and then let's say your domain is, I don't know, demo.com. That's your domain, okay? So you can name this ss.demo.com. SS stands for server-side tracking, and then hit add domain. Once you do that, you're gonna see they're gonna give you this new server. What you have to do is you have to go inside your DNS provider and then add an A record. But I'm also gonna recommend that you enable this feature here, which is gonna give you 2 records. So you're gonna have an A record and a CNAME record that you need to add inside your DNS provider. So when I did my other video on Facebook Conversion API about a year ago, I had a lot of questions and a lot of people had issues with setting up those DNS. So what you have to do is go inside your DNS provider. The name is gonna be this right here, SS. in this example, right? And then the name for the CNAME is going to be load.ss, obviously, as long as you keep the same naming convention as you see right there. And then this is going to be the value. In the event where you're having issues with this, you can always message and email Stape. They have honestly excellent support. They'll usually get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. But when I used to recommend people to the Google server, I kept hearing that, you know, the support that Google offered when it comes to DNS and technical issues like that. And the great thing with using Stape is that if you're stuck there and you're having issues, you can always send them an email, and then they're gonna be able to help and guide you and show you how to set it up. And that's one of the reasons I, again, prefer Stape versus Google, because Google did not really offer that support. So I had a lot of emails with people that had issues and didn't really know what to do, and just Google wasn't there to help. So this is what you're gonna need to add in order to add your own custom subdomain. Now, in case you're wondering, like, oh, like, what does this matter? Like, why do I want to use my own custom subdomain? Well, what we're trying to do is not just server-side tracking. We want to do server-side tracking in a first-party context, because we're really trying to just get the best tracking that is available to us. And then the only way we can do that is with our own domain. So what's transporting the data? You want it to be your own custom subdomain and not a subdomain that Stape gives you. I mean, it's still better than just doing browser tracking, but I want to show you what's best for your company, and that's to use your own custom subdomain. So once that's added into our units, I'm gonna skip that because, again, this is a demo. You can go here and then add it here. Now, once you add it, it might take 24 to 48 hours, so don't expect it to work right away. But one of the best way to know if it works is just add it, then hit preview. And if you hit preview and it looks like this, so you see GTM loading, and then at the top, you see your own custom subdomain, then you know it worked properly, and now you have a server-side container using your own custom subdomain. So now we're gonna go back, and I'm gonna show you how you can set up your server container. So you're gonna go to template, and then you're gonna go to tag template, and then you're gonna search for Facebook. So here we have the Facebook incubator, but we also have Facebook Stape.io. I'm gonna recommend that you use the Stape.io template, and the reason for that is because this template right here, Facebook actually stopped working on it, and there's a few bugs in my opinion. If you watch my other video, that's actually the one that I was using, but I honestly much prefer this template right here. It also does some additional things, so I'm gonna recommend that you choose this one. That's what I'm gonna use. It's completely free to use it. And make sure just you click this one and not the Facebook offline conversion, because that's something fully different. So I'm gonna select that template, click add to workspace. I'm just gonna add that. And perfect, so now I can actually go to tags and I can add my template. So I'm gonna hit add, then select the Facebook conversion API template right here. Here, we're gonna leave it as is. So we want the data to just come from the client. This is where you're gonna add your API access token and then your Facebook pixel ID. So let me actually just go ahead and pull up my events manager. So I'm now inside events manager. If I go to settings and I scroll down, all the way down, I'm gonna see something here that says conversion API, and it actually gives me the option to create an access token. So I'm gonna click on that, and then it's gonna give me a token just like this. I'm gonna click to copy it. Then I can actually go back inside my GTM server container, and then I can just paste the token right here. And then the Facebook pixel, I'm just gonna go back here and then go to overview and click to copy it, go back here, and I'm gonna paste the pixel ID right here. This is where you can add your test ID. So if you go inside Events Manager and you click on test event, you're gonna see that you can actually copy this, and this allows you to test your server container, okay? So I'm just gonna copy it, and I'm gonna bring it here because after everything is set up, I'm gonna show you how you test and debug your setup. So now if we keep scrolling down, this option right here, I usually like to just enable it. So basically what this means is if ever the FTP, right, which is a Facebook cookie, isn't created on the web side of things, then that could potentially mean because Facebook wasn't properly able to load on your website, right? And we've talked about why that could potentially happen. Well, this will actually create one for you, and it's gonna send it to the Facebook conversion API. So that's pretty much it for the tag. Now we need to create our trigger. So I'm gonna create a new trigger. And then this trigger, I'm gonna name that GA4. And then this is gonna be a custom, and it's gonna be some events. And then I'm gonna choose a built-in variable, and then it's going to be the client name, and it's when the client name equals GA4, okay? So let me explain that. So now let's save this. and I'm going to save it again. We can just use the default name that it gives us. And now if I go to client, you can see that there's a client called GA4. So this is actually what accepts the information. Again, you see GA4 here, but this does not send any data to GA4. Think a bit more, it's sponsored by GA4, okay? But it doesn't send any data to GA4. This is a GA4 client and accepts information that is being sent by our GA4 web tag inside the web container. This right here, you don't need to touch anything for now. We're gonna go back to tags, and what I recommend that you do is you create a new tag and then you create also the GA4 tag. So this tag right here, this is what's gonna send data to GA4. So it's gonna get the data from the client. Once it has the data, it sends it to GA4. So here you can put in your measurement ID. So I'm just gonna put a random measurement ID. And then the event name, here it says default to event name, but I always like to add it just in case. So basically what this does is that it's going to create a variable, and whatever the event name that we set inside our GA4 web tag, well, it's going to pull that, and that's going to be the event name that gets sent to GA4. Okay. Now for the trigger, we're going to use the same trigger that's already created. So it's called GA4. And now I can just save that and just again use the regular naming convention here. So now I'm saved. So now I should actually have a tag that's responsible for sending data to the Facebook Conversion API, and another one that sends the data to GA4. So now what we need to do is you need to go and grab your subdomain here. So I'm using the Stape server, but hopefully you're using your own custom subdomain if you've waited 24 to 48 hours. And then you're gonna go inside your web container. So I'm just gonna duplicate this and navigate to my web container. And then under tags, you're gonna open up the GA4 basic. And remember earlier in the video, I said, don't enable this. Well, now you wanna enable it, it's time. And you can paste your custom subdomain right here. Make sure there's HTTPS, it's not gonna let you save it. But basically what this means, and we can hover hit, all events associated with this GA4 tag are actually going to be sent to the server container. In case you're wondering, how does Google Tag Manager know that the events are associated with this tag? Well, let me just save this. So if I go to the GA4 purchase, you can see the configuration tag is a GA4 basic, which that's the one that we were just editing. Now, I just want to go over this real quick because I actually just realized that I haven't shared this with you guys. So I showed you how to send user information like first name, last name, email, phone number, via the browser, but I haven't actually showed you how to send it via the server. So this is how. So you need to create a parameter name, and this is the name, for example, for the first name, this is a name for the last name, the email address, and the phone number. And then obviously you need to give it a value. The value, guys, again, you're gonna need to create it yourself. Here, those variables are not gonna work for you. So go ahead and create your own variables if you're gonna be sending user information. And if you don't know how to, again, I've made a video showing you exactly how to do that. But this is how you would add customer information. And in case you wanna create more, like you wanna send a zip, you wanna send a country, I'm gonna show you an image right now on the screen, and I recommend that you take a picture or a screenshot of that, because that's how you would name the parameter names, okay? So if you wanna add another one, like the country, just again, look at the image that I just showed you, and that's how you would name it. If let's say you were to just say, hey, like the parameter name is first name and remove the user underscore data dot address, it would unfortunately not work. I know it's a bit confusing, but that's just a requirement. So make sure that you use the proper naming convention. So it's a little bit tricky because if you have one letter that should actually be capitalized and it's not, or it's missing an underscore or a period, it might actually fail. So you really gotta pay attention to details and make sure that your setup looks somewhat like mine, and that usually ensures that the majority of the tracking will work. So let me actually go back here, and now what we can do is we can actually test it. So I'm gonna grab my pixel, and then I'm gonna go to variable, and I'm gonna do what I asked you guys to do originally in the video. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my own Facebook pixel here, and then I can save this. So now in order to preview this, so let me go back on this screen. So this is my server container, and then this is my web container. A great way to know which one's which is that the web container, there's no section here that says client, but here there's like a little section that says client. So always start by previewing the server container first. So I'm previewing a server container. And again, we know that it works by just looking at the server URL and this page loads. And now we can go to the web container, and then we can preview the website. And then I'm just gonna connect to the website. So I'm connecting to the website. And as you can see, it's clear here, there's no events being sent. So this is my homepage on my demo website. And as we can see, if we click on number 4, we can see that 2 tags fired. So we have the all page that for Facebook. So basically this is browser tracking, and this is not server side tracking yet. It's sending it to the server, and then once the server claims the request, then it's gonna send it to the Facebook Conversion API. But we'll look at that in just a second. So if I open up the GA4 tag and I click on value, you can actually see that there's an event ID, there's a value for the event ID. And then if we look at Facebook tag, we can actually see the event ID here. So you're gonna notice that the event ID is the same because right now it's sending the event from both browser and server. And like I said, we don't wanna duplicate our data. So it's normal that the event ID here is the same. And then if I go to my server container, if I click on that, we can see, first of all, that the GA4 client claimed the request. And then do you remember what our trigger is for GA4? It's when the client name equals GA4. Well, that's true. So that's why it triggered both of our tags. So we can see it send a GA4 tag, and we created a variable that pull the name, the event name of our GA4 web tag. So that's why there's a value of page view. And then for the Facebook Conversion API, if you click on values, you can see your API access token, you can see your test event ID, and let's actually see if it was sent. Perfect. So you can see that it was sent to Facebook. So that's a regular page view event, and it was sent via both the browser and the server. And remember what happens when you send an event from both the browser and server and there's an event ID? It gets deduplicated, and we can see it happen right here. And it will always deduplicate the server event. In case you don't remember why, is because Facebook just prefers using your own Facebook pixel, which that's the browser tracking. So that's why they're always, if they have 2, they're always gonna keep the browser and not the server. So this is completely normal. I can see that my events are coming in. I'm getting the page view from both browser and server. And in case you're technical and you wanna look at the request, where is it? You can click on this. And by the way, guys, this is a simple post request. And don't be afraid by this. I know it looks like technical and like coding and stuff, but it's actually pretty simple. So this is the post address. So that's where it's sending the information to. And then this is the body. So you can actually see like the event name is page view, the action source is website because it happened on a website. This is actually where it happened. So that's my website. This is the time. And in case you don't recognize this, that's a unique timestamp. So it's basically a timestamp that happens and gives you the exact seconds of when that event was created. Here we send some user information like the client user agent, like basically my device, my IP, and also creating and sending the Facebook cookie. And then again, we have the event ID that's being passed to the server container, and then that's a testament code because we're testing it right now. So we can see that it works. What I would recommend for you is that you go through the process. So now I just generated a page view, but go and generate an add to cart, go and generate a purchase, and see how the data pulls in. So we know that it works. What I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna go through the purchase process. So I'm gonna purchase one of this item. So I'm gonna add it to my cart. And then I'm gonna click on view cart. Proceed to checkout. I'm just gonna fill this up, place order. Okay, so I just made a purchase on my demo website. And now if I go here, we can see there's actually a data layer event. Now this is only because of how my site works, okay? So you're gonna need to create your own trigger for your setup. You probably cannot use my triggers unless it just happens your site is built exactly the way that mine is. Then probably one of the only triggers that's gonna work for you is gonna be the all page trigger. All the other triggers you're gonna have to create yourself. So here we can see the event was sent via the browser, and then this was sent supposedly via the server, but don't assume that because you see this, Facebook received the event. So we gotta go here, and then let me just go back here, and then we can see the purchase event was received. And then this is the Facebook Conversion API. And again, this is GA4. And as you can see, I selected values so I can see what the value is for all those name here, the name properties, and then update it to purchase instead of page view because again, it's a variable. So now it's sent. And if I go inside Facebook, we can see that the purchase was sent. And then they got deduplicated because again, it was received from both browser and server. So that is for the testing side of things. I've actually made another video showing you like how to troubleshoot your GTM in case you're sending an event, but Facebook is not really receiving it, or you're having issues with duplication or a lot of other issues. I've made a video showing you how to troubleshoot your setup. So if you're having issues with that part and you've followed everything so far and it's just not working, it might be worth actually checking out that video, because I cover a lot of other things that I just don't really have time to cover in this video. So link's gonna be in the description of this video. But now what I want to do is I want to move on to how to proxy GTM. So this means that I'm going to show you how to remove all traces of GTM. So if someone's like looking at your website, or an ad blocker is trying to see if you're using GTM on your website to potentially block it, it's going to be a lot harder for them to know that you're using this tool, because we're going to hide it. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. And the reason it's important that you pay attention for this section is actually because Facebook Pixel gets blocked by sometimes Safari or ad blockers, but so does GTM sometimes. So that's why it would be good practice to just remove all traces of GTM. So let me show you how to do that right now. All right, I'm back inside my Stape account. Now, once you see this screen right here, you're going to click on Power Ups. Once you see this, then you're going to click on Custom Loader. Now from there, you're just going to select your domain. So it's really important, in order to do this step, you need to have your Stape account connected with your own custom subdomain. So that's really, really important. If not, I mean, there's not really any point of proxying GTM. So now you're going to put in your domain here, and you're going to go back inside your web container. So right now I'm inside my server container, so that's not the good one. I'm going to go inside my web container, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this little code right here. So I'm just going to copy that, and I can also find it here. Gonna go back to Stape, and then I'm gonna paste this right here, and then I'm gonna generate the web GTM code, and it's gonna shoot this back at me. So really important that you copy this and you replace it with your existing GTM tags. So I don't know if you remember it, or if even you were the one to install GTM on your website, but what you've done is you've clicked on this, and then you've read those instructions here, and it basically say paste this code as high as possible in the head section. They give you the code, and then they also say paste this code immediately after the opening body tag. What you want to do is you want to delete that code and then replace it with the new code, which is this one. And the difference between those two codes is, like, look at this. Here, it's loading GTM, so the source, it's loading it from my custom subdomain. And same thing with this one right here. But this one here, it's actually pulling from Google server. So we're basically using our own subdomain to load the Google Tag Manager library instead of relying on Facebook. I would probably say, hey, if Google Tag Manager is trying to load something on this user's device, let's block that. But an ad blocker won't know what load.ss.demo.com is, right? So it's a pretty cool feature, and I think it's something that everyone should implement, because honestly, it only takes a few extra seconds. So once you have that, then what you can do is you can go back to GTM, and you can actually go ahead and publish your web container, and then go here and publish your server container. Just maybe when you proxy GTM, right, when we switch the GTM code, you might want to just go and test it another time just to make sure that everything works perfectly. But from there, guys, you have a server-side tracking setup, and you also have a browser-side tracking setup, and they're both working together, ensuring that Facebook and GA4 is receiving as much data as possible. But guys, I know this is a pretty long video, and I've covered a lot, and it's honestly a pretty technical topic. So if ever you need any help with it, I'm gonna leave a link in the description of this video where you can book a quick call with me, and you can learn on how we can actually set this entire thing up for you. Or we can just book a one-on-one call where we, take an hour, we share screen, and I help you troubleshoot whatever issue you're having. So there's a few different options in case you're looking for that and you want that additional help. But guys, that is it for this video. Bye for now.